All right. First live doing married at married at first sight. Um season 5. No, season 14, episode 5. Now, so married at first sight, one of our favorite shows,
Hmm.
and we're gonna give you a recap and review. So, what? How did this episode start?
So I've just watched this episode because
I've
I was
watched it
actually
2 or 3 times.
I was actually at yoga when it aired live. So having just watched it, it's pretty fresh in my memory. So it starts with the couples waking up in paradise, also known as Puerto Rico, the rich
Puerto
port.
Rico, ho.
All the married couples except for one are waking up together on their honeymoon. Can you guess who didn't?
Yeah, who woke up? Oh yeah, Mike. His name is Mike, right? And Alyssa,
I want to say Chris and Alyssa.
Chris and Alyssa. He looks like a Mike or a Chris, one of them. All right. So
He's the
anyway,
worst.
yeah, they're the ones
Little shady
who are
Mike.
having the problems, right?
And as Ishay likes to say, show me the problems. Take them out of your head and place them before me because these
We'll
problems
see.
exist solely
This
in your head.
this is because the problems that Alyssa and Chris are having exist solely in her head. Because she's saying we don't have uh we don't like the same things,
Hmm.
we don't do the same activities,
Right.
we don't think the same, and it's like how can you say that when y'all even hadn't had a conversation? Like you won't even talk to him about things you like or
They
getting to
have
know him.
they have legit not even spent 4 hours together.
Not
I don't
together,
think.
yeah.
Not together, not just the two of them together. So I can empathize. She didn't get who she thought she might get in this process, but also I will say that she hasn't been as open as she thinks she's being. And I get it. I can see from her standpoint that she thinks she has tried because, well, I don't know why she thinks that she has tried based on what she's done thus far. What she's done very well is communicate to her current husband that he's not the one for her. I don't know that that's trying. To me, that's more communicating that you are out. For you, this is a done deal. Like, you're not interested.
Yeah. um
So, and I bring that up to say because she kind of almost is like having a little pity party for herself. You know, that morning she wakes up and she's like, this is not how I expected to wake up on my honeymoon. Well, but you were the one that made this decision.
yeah, instead of just being a good sport and trying to see where it goes, she just having a constant tantrum. Um, like she is not being an adult about the whole thing. She's just like self pity, self
Like,
deprivation.
why
Yeah,
me?
she's really like she is being such a clown. Like, why don't she just like, you don't gotta kiss him, you don't gotta do none of that stuff. Just get to know the guy. But she's so fixed on getting her way, which she said to his face. She told him to his face. I think the experts made a mistake.
They've clearly made a mistake here. Let's try to be open. She's already basically said, and I don't remember if that was said actually in the room. That may have been said later on. Yeah, because actually, when they were in the room, they were not together. So this conversation actually took place. What you're bringing up right now actually took place when they went on their date. So before we jump to that spot, let's just quickly recap the other couples. The other couples more or less woke up in a great mood, cuddly, affectionate towards one another, with the exception of, I will say, Jasmina and Mike. There's our Mike.
Oh yeah,
That's
okay.
our Mike.
Mike. Yeah, so
So Jasmina and Mike, they also woke up with a little bit of tension, but the other couples woke up in good spirits and a good mood. They'd probably done some cuddling and other affectionate, intimate things. Although at
well,
this point, no one has claimed. At this point, no one has claimed to have
yeah, they
consummated.
did claim.
Not until later on.
Well, yeah, we could have
See
guessed
how he
that.
likes to fast
No,
forward.
we could have guessed
Yeah,
the
we could have guessed
the
that. You're
people
right.
that kept drinking and getting all crazy. Okay, so let's move to Mike and Jasmine.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of tension there. I feel like because Mike is already a person who's extremely cerebral and always in his head, which I can empathize with as somebody who's overly cerebral, I feel like he has it, um, in unintentionally also made his wife cerebral because now she continues to live in that space of my husband always jumps to the worst conclusion. He always overthinks things. And so she's kind of also she's also helping that to manifest and perpetuate itself because she has this expectation like he's going to ruin things. So her belief set is that he's going to ruin things. He's already set up to kind of ruin things because he's so cerebral. So they're very efficiently making their way down this path, unfortunately.
Yeah, he is a little too negative for this process. Well, it may be his personality, but he needs to lighten up and just see where it goes. Like sometimes you gotta let go and just go with the flow. Like if anybody needs to go with the flow, it's him because he about to lose this really pretty lady.
Pretty. He has
Um,
a model on his
yeah,
arm.
she is.
She's
Yeah, they look
stunning.
good together,
Yeah.
and it's sad, but she's even saying it like when she keeps saying he's gonna lose, he's gonna mess this whole thing up. And yeah, if she says that, that means it's in her head already. So when he woke up and he wanted to recap the fight that they had or the little thing that happened where he was the only one that got angry. He got mad and he said that she cut him off. And when she didn't cut him off, the question was asked who consummated their marriage, and he was talking, and he basically said no, and then she just chimed in. She's part of the couple, right? It's a conversation, it's dialogue back and forth.
But this part hasn't happened
You,
yet.
she just cut me off. You see that? You see what happened? That no, no, but that's just how it was.
I was
Like
just trying to help self
I don't
correct
know.
because
No,
this
no.
portion actually hasn't happened yet in the show. Right? They're
Well,
still having just their breakfast together in the bed and they're just
oh,
going on.
I see. Okay. So what she's saying is, what you saying is I got too far ahead.
You got a little bit ahead of
Okay, let's
yourself.
go back to the
It's,
wake
there's
ups
like,
then. So, all right. So he was mad at the argument or the little thing they got into.
yeah,
When he woke up, he
yeah.
wanted to discuss it. You don't wake up, you're on your honeymoon to discuss something
Because that's
negative
the
that
time
just
for.
happened.
I'm just kidding.
They haven't done that yet. Now, who's
Just an
skipping
inside
ahead?
joke.
I don't know if they ever gonna do it with the way Mike is acting because
I know,
he's
I
gonna talk
know,
himself right out of some loving.
I know, I know.
Yeah, so yeah, he shouldn't have just got up and started talking about that. Even she was like, "Who does that?"
Yeah, she was a little bit caught off guard. So those were the only two couples that kind of had any meat to the beginning of their fourth day, I think, or third day married, being in Puerto Rico, which is where they're honeymooning. Um, After that, now we get to see them all on a date. Actually, before that, they go on individual dates. They all do something individual. And we see Noya and Steve have a conversation where Noya admits that she could be on the journey to falling in love with Steve, and he does not reciprocate that. So that ends up being a bit of a hurdle, which it shouldn't be because, to be fair, that's not even something that needs to be mentioned 3 days in. If you do that, then of course you're setting yourself up for disappointment. If you don't have that same sentiment sort of reciprocated, which is not really fair to put on anyone that has known you for 72 hours.
Yeah, I mean, her feelings are her feelings, right?
Yeah.
She feels like she's in love, or it's turning into love, and it's kind of unfair to like think the other person is having the same feelings. It would be nice, but I think he's on his way. You know, I
Yeah.
think it's just
Probably. They seem to have great chemistry.
yeah. I mean, he's more of a free spirit, so
Yeah.
he goes with the flow. So he's like just letting it happen.
Yeah.
And she kind of got a little butt hurt that
Yeah.
he didn't say it back, but
Yeah.
he explained it to her, I think, in a good, um, you know, democratic or a good way. He
Yeah.
said,
Yeah. Yeah. It was communicated effectively. We saw Lindsay and Mark have breakfast where he revealed to her that he, has had a rocky dating history. So has she. Apparently, she's dated every type of engineer that there is. And you have Mark, who I think is slightly self conscious about that because he's like, well, I hope I can live up to that. So there's a little bit of self deprecating humor, maybe because he wasn't feeling great about himself. But there was a moment of vulnerability.
that's how he looks all the time. Nah, he's a cool, like, when I first saw him when he first came on, I didn't get a good. I thought he was he just with the high top fade, the cut. He kind of looks like just one of them cops, but he's actually like seems like a
Is
pretty
he a
cool
police
guy.
officer?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He looks like one. Not that there's anything against police officers. I'm just saying he just looks kind of like somebody I wouldn't want to get pulled over by
That part.
at night.
That part.
But anyway, I'm glad he's a good guy, and like it's funny that he is looking so good next to her because everything she does. I mean, she's a little, just outspoken, and he is a good balance for her. And but it's a little too early to correct her like he's doing, but he's been correcting her in a good, I think, the neatest way possible that you can kind of correct somebody or guide them. And she
Right.
needs that. She needs that, you know.
Hmm.
So I think so they woke up. So who else are we missing?
I believe Katina and Olajuwon also went on a date where he was like, I deleted my Instagram for you.
Oh no, wait a minute. How they wake up?
They woke up great, cuddly. Everyone else was cuddly and loving, and affectionate, apart from the four that we mentioned, which were Mike and Jasmina, and of course Mark and Alyssa, who are not even sharing a bed together. Alyssa, who's all the way checked out and might only be there because she's wanting to enjoy a free holiday.
But she can't even have fun on a beautiful island like that. Like she's following everybody, all the other couples.
She's the third
She's
wheel.
the third wheel, third leg.
She's made her and her husband be the third wheel on other people's honeymoons
I know,
because she doesn't want to just jumpstart and reignite and put a booster cable to her honeymoon. She's
right?
decided I'm just gonna tag along.
Like there's no other issues to work out. Oh, we're good. So we're gonna just hop on everybody else's coattails.
They actually have a date too. They go on a date and they do the paddle boarding.
Oh
So
yeah,
Katina and Olajuwon are doing breakfast. Mark and Lindsay are doing breakfast. Um, Noy and Steve do a picnic, which is where the whole "I think I'm falling in love with you" conversation took place. But Alyssa and Mark, I'm going to say, forgive me if that's not his name, end up paddleboarding, and she ends up staying dry, and he ends up getting wet a few times.
yeah.
She obviously has a lot of core stability.
She's just a non. Well, that's the only thing she participated in,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think he's trying to be a good sport about it. Why waste all that lush tropicalness and beach, you know, good weather on being angry. All
That part.
right,
So he understood the assignment, as the kiddos like to say these days.
he did. He did understand it,
um,
but
so those.
let me just say, she just don't look all that good to be acting the way she is. Well, I mean, it's making her look, her physical features. It is making you zero in on everything about her
Right,
now
sure, yeah.
for the way she's acting. Like she should be commanding somebody better. Like, I don't know, a Leonardo DiCaprio back in his days, or whoever is out there, whoever is the
Whoever her celebrity crush or her
yeah.
standard or her type might
I
be.
mean, yeah, I mean, don't they always tell women that you want somebody who makes a good living, to be a provider that's decent looking and nice to you. I mean,
Yeah.
she's got all of that.
Respectful.
Yeah. So the thing is, I mean, she hasn't talked to him about life or anything. So she's just making up stuff in her head and going by like the first conversation she had with his friends at the wedding. All right.
Who were
So
wrong for doing that, by the way.
yeah,
But her
I hope
her
it was
her
the
issue
alcohol
is,
talk.
I hope so, but still, I mean, this is one of those situations where Mark, if that's his name, might want to reflect on his friendships because that did not serve
He
any
might need to
purpose.
reevaluate.
Reevaluate the friendships. Sometimes that needs to happen because it just wasn't necessary and was not what she needed, especially for her personality type, because now she's wanting to run out the door. And in fact, she has more or less 2 feet out the door as we speak. So it's put him in a really difficult situation. However, I will say again, to reiterate what you've been saying, which is this still is living in her head because she hasn't given it a chance. She has reacted through strong emotion, but she's not responded in a legitimate sort of rational way where she can say, well, at least every night we've had dinner, breakfast, lunch, where we're having conversations about what our shared goals and values might be, what our shared interests might be, because there must be some for the experts to have paired you, right? So, okay, we overstand. You don't find him attractive. Fine. That is an element. Okay, you are entitled to that, but have you actually sat with this person? Have you engaged in long, in depth conversations to get to the meat of what makes a marriage, anyways, which is not physical attraction?
Yeah.
Right?
She wants a cowboy or something.
There's that. She wants that.
So are we going, okay, let's start the day, how the day started. Now they go on new dates, right?
So after they've had their individual dates, and those are kind of the big ones to mention, which is, Katina and Olajuwon, where they eat together, and he's like, I deleted my Instagram for you.
And
Which
she's
is
like,
that,
mm-hmm.
by the way, is that something that guys should be doing? I don't know. It just
Uh,
depends. I mean, that's setting a standard.
I mean,
Absolutely.
he's a
He's a
young guy,
young
so
guy.
he's trying to impress her
Yeah.
because he still haven't got he didn't get the
Right.
dating.
Right. So he's
So
still
I don't know.
working for it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's doing all that to loosen her up,
Yeah.
so to speak, or if it's really genuine. He
That's
says
just
the right
it.
stuff though.
Because if he's going to go down the morning after they do it and re-download Instagram, then it's all just smoke and mirrors. It's like you shouldn't do something unless you're really prepared to see it through. If that's really how you feel and that's in your heart, I completely support that. I'm not a social media person anyway, so I could certainly live without Instagram. But for somebody that young, and I don't know how engaged he is online, um, is that is that really sustainable, or are you going to turn around? Because the worst thing I think for women, for us, is flip floppers, because we see that as inconsistency. And one of the things that we look for the most in a partner is consistency. So once you say you're going to do A, B, we expect you to do A, B, especially when we didn't ask you to do something and you are come up and volunteered to do something, right? And then if you don't see that through, that becomes even, I
Yeah.
think, more of a disappointment for us. So there was that date. There was the Alyssa and Mark date on the paddleboard. There was the Noy and Steve date, which was a picnic where he revealed
That's
her.
a nice looking
Where she
picnic.
revealed it was with the cushions and all. Production, you did
Mhm.
that. I'd love it if you could do that for us this summer when we're ready to picnic. We need a nice little sexy setup like that with the cushions and the throws and the pillows and all the colors, minus the charcuterie board. we'll have to
Yeah.
find we'll have to find vegan variation most of those foods. But Alyssa, sorry, not Alyssa, but Lindsay and Mark, who had their brunch. And I guess I don't think that we saw Jasmina doing anything with Mike, probably because they were on the outs after that conversation on the boat. So now where we've gotten to is the point where they're all together on the boat. Is that called a catamaran or something?
Yeah, catamaran.
Is what? What does that mean exactly?
Just like a flat boat thingy.
Okay, that's where all the girls were chilling in their bikinis.
Yeah.
Okay, so now everyone's together, and it looks like they're going off to some remote island somewhere in Puerto Rico, the rich coast. So Yeah, so they get together. Oh, and they start playing a stupid game.
Oh, never have I ever. It's so dumb. Like,
Wait, first though,
don't play that.
Olajuwon, who is not the most mature, let's say it, very handsome bloke, but not incredibly mature, which is why I'm like, are you really ready to get married? But I digress. Because he was the one that was like, what was the first question that he asked? If you remember, it was,
Who got busy?
who consummated? Okay, fair enough. There's always somebody at the beginning of the season who asks that, but I'm not surprised it came from Olajuwon based on how the conversation then carried.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it went to the left real fast. Because after that, it was who's whoever slept with the same family members, who- whoever slept with someone in the same family,
Right.
and it was like you heard the needle scratch, the record stopped.
Who's had threesomes? Who's
Who's
this
had
and that? Or,
threesomes? Yeah,
and if your wife threw you an extra woman, why wouldn't you take her?
yeah, and you could see like, especially the black girls, was like, it was like, no way,
And
like
like, did you put
this
that
is
down
not
on your
happening.
form? Because this is not me.
Yeah,
Is
it's
this
like
what did you put down in your form? Because I am not that.
they both was like, no chance in hell you ever get that. I mean, dang, I don't know if it's alcohol, man. Like sometimes he just needs to like just listen to himself before you say it. Just like kind of run it through your brain before it comes out.
Well, I think what you said whilst the show was actually on was like it really hit home, and you basically said in that moment, has he ever dated black women? Like we know he's dated many women, right?
Yeah,
We get that he's been
he's
out there,
yeah, he
but
sound like a straight frat boy,
he
like a
does.
black one.
He does. Because also if you asked for a black woman, which I'm not sure if he did or didn't, and if you've dated black women, I'm not saying that you're not going to necessarily find one out there who would be into it, but traditionally speaking, black women and certainly women that are looking to get married, but black women specifically, not speaking for everyone,
I think
if they're
they're a little
looking to get married, it's less about swinging. Because
swinging
you
already.
because you
That
don't need to.
conversation is not needed at this moment.
Because
And
then you'd
this
be
is
out
a
there dating.
honeymoon.
Because yeah, because you'd be out there dating. You're trying to get away at least for some period of time from the dating market, right?
Yeah,
Because it's not served you.
because that's kind of signaling like you're not really ready for this commitment. Like, why- if y'all didn't bring that up when y'all first met, you know, you don't bring it up on your honeymoon. That's something years, I don't know, spicing, whatever you need. I don't know how that conversation comes up unless you're talking about taking on a couple more wives. All right, so next.
To be tabled for a later
All
time.
right. So let's talk about. So you got the two scenes where the girls are on the catamaran and the guys with the dad bods are over on the beach.
Not all of them had dad bods, to be fair.
Okay, so the younger guys is pretty yoked and brolic, and then you got the regular guys. So, but anyway, and enough about that. See, it's got candy for men and women.
Yeah.
Something to look at.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they're doing their things. The women are getting to a catty fight. the guys are you know,
Throwing back some
doing
beers.
guy talk, but they getting kind of vulnerable with each other, talking about their wives. So this fight, how did that happen? Because I was like, man, that went from 0 to 100. Because
Between
Katina
Katina,
and what's her name,
Lindsay.
Lindsay, who doesn't, she was still feeling some way because of the first interaction when they got into the fight when they first got into Puerto Rico. Uh, Lindsay was, I guess she was drunk, but she came on the bus telling everybody you got to speak Spanish in this country. It's like just like you can't. I mean, she must. I don't know. It must have been the way she said it because that wouldn't have got me angry. It would have just been like this woman's drunk.
Right. You would
Hey,
have just
dude,
done this with that.
yeah, grab your husband, grab your wife. But so they get into it, Katina and Lindsay, and Katina was like standing firm, holding her ground. What did you think about that
Yeah.
tiff or whatever?
I think it's it's a little bit hard to overstand what took place because it wasn't caught on camera. So we don't know to the extent of how that really played out. But obviously, it's still a very sensitive, hot topic with Katina specifically and Lindsay, them being the two women involved. Um, yeah, I think it escalated quite quickly, and I felt like Katina was going in a little bit hard on Lindsay, but Lindsay was also being a bit dismissive and maybe had not taken on full accountability. So my only guess for why Katina was going that hard on her might be because Katina was still waiting for like a proper acknowledgement, apology on behalf of Lindsay for her behavior whilst maybe under the influence. I don't feel like Katina feels like that wrong was made right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
what are your
that was
thoughts?
a dicey situation because those both of those women are so headstrong, they probably would
Mm.
never be friends.
Mm-hmm.
Even though this was a little thing, like both of them could, they got to have this
Mm-hmm.
moment where they just want to be, put everything behind them and be, I don't know, act like adults, and stop the fighting. And, it's always a misunderstanding. Somebody comes at somebody and then you got different backgrounds. People aren't
Mm-hmm.
used to being talked to a certain way, or you know so I don't know. That's But the guys, you got Noy. What's the guy's
Steve.
Moy? Steve Moy. Noy. His wife is Noy, and his last name is Moy. So, but anyway, Steve is
Mm-hmm.
talking about, yeah, I got this big old thing. Like she already said she loved me. I didn't know what to say. So you got what's the dude Chris over there wishing that was him. Wishing he could get some
Some
attention or some
love,
affection.
anything. Throw
Yeah,
him a doggy bone of any type.
anything. So, uh, and then you got what's his name, Elijah chiming in. Um, I don't know. I don't know. That was just I don't know. They was just talking, so I didn't get anything out of that.
Yeah. He was just like, oh, I made my wife train with me at the gym today, and that's not really her thing, but I made her do
Oh,
that so that she would voice it to me, and I know that she's not BSing me, that she can be honest and direct with me. So I was like, okay.
let's get into that training. So Elijah took Katina to
To
the
the gym
gym
earlier, yeah.
to do some of his training regimen, and she was, just like a woman who is dainty and pretty, don't need to like do any training. She don't gotta do nothing. She just stays the way she is.
She's naturally skinny.
Yeah, so she wasn't really feeling it, but I think she liked how he was taking charge.
Hmm.
Like she didn't want to admit it, and she probably needed that. And he was like he liked the way that she spoke up when
Yeah,
she didn't like something. So
yeah,
she
yeah,
just
yeah,
wasn't faking it, and I don't
yeah.
think she don't fake it
I don't think so
anyway.
either.
She
I think she'll always voice her
Yeah,
mind.
because is he used to messing with docile women? Because why would you even? I
We don't
don't.
know.
I think like people would say what they don't like. You can see it on their face.
We don't know.
Yeah. So that was a pretty good date. It was kind of an intense workout. But then is it after that they went to the restaurant? Are
Yes.
we are we
Yeah.
moving?
Yeah. So we went all the way back. Yeah. So now going back to the boat, they eventually get back together, all the couples, after a short break apart, where basically Lindsay and Katina decide that they're basically not going to get on, and that's fine. In fact, Katina called her immature, this, that, whatever, and then walked off. So there was no resolution, but after they took a break from each other, all the couples came together, and actually, that's when that whole conversation of "Have you had multiple people from the same family?" came about from
Oh
Elijah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so they was playing that game. Alcohol really was making this show really pop because everybody's
Yeah.
just saying all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think Elijah uh, he was asking some crazy questions, and everybody was a little bit. more mature than him. So they look funny. I'm just so
Why would
after
you even
that,
bring that up? Can we
yeah, I
just for a
mean,
moment touch
apparent.
upon that? Like he had he hooked up with a girl and her mom, right? And what I was saying to you earlier is that only a young and immature person would feel like that's something that they would wear as a badge of honor.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you
that's
wouldn't speak about that as a mature person. You would keep that to yourself. Maybe you're proud of it, but I think to the exterior world, that's not really adding value. It doesn't make you seem more valuable, educated, smart, successful. Um, anything that would anything that would actually add value to you, you're not getting by sharing with the world that you bagged a woman and her mother. So, for me, I would just say like keep that stuff to yourself. It doesn't need to be spoken about in a group setting. I would
well,
think.
that's guy talk. I
That's
mean,
thank you.
they if they played some basketball or went to the gym,
Then you can brag about things like
yeah,
that.
but yeah,
But
not in front of your new wife and then all the other wives, because now you forcing people to judge you even more. So
and none of us, including me as a viewer, found that attractive. Found that useful
women didn't find
information.
it attractive. It may have lowered some attractive some attraction.
Because we all
But
know that you've been a hoe, but we don't need the ins and outs of that, right? We can accept that you've been out here hoeing in these streets, Elijah One. You're young, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Hopefully, it was always safe.
yeah,
And of course, consensual. So we don't mind that, but none of us want to know the little itty bitty details. Like you said, that's guy talk. But for us women,
yeah, because you know she
nothing of
might
value.
Katina might be like, I need to see your HIPAA. I need to see your
When was the last time you
medical
were tested?
records. Yeah. So I
Mm.
don't know if you clean. You just told me a lot. So anyway, guys, young guys, yeah, like some conversations are not meant for a group of people, especially men and women. So some stuff you gotta categorize and check. So anyway, after after that one, who oh what was that the thing with are we going to Chris and Alyssa? Alyssa was just pouting that
Alyssa's always pouting.
yeah, I mean, he set up this scuba diving date,
Oh, right.
snorkeling, scuba diving.
Yeah, and she
Yeah,
didn't
why would
participate in
that's
that.
so fun? Like she was like just not trying to do anything.
And the worst part is she's having her breakfast or her lunch by herself whilst her husband is participating in whatever
Man,
sporting activity he took on.
she is
But it's
wasting.
but at some point she rang her mother, and her mother gave her the business, as they would say. Did you hear that
Yeah,
part where
even her
she said
mother was
her mom triggered her because even her mom was calling her out on her BS, and the reason why she again reacted and didn't respond was because she's done this before. That's why it hit her to the core. It bothered her because she's heard this before and she knows that this is what she does. She shuts down completely when she sees one thing that she doesn't like. She completely shuts down and the whole thing goes to hell without even, due trial and process.
yeah, yeah. She's got some issues.
She does. And that poor man, like once he was finished doing his activities on his own, by the way, being a good sport, and is coming to greet her, not knowing what's been going on, who she has spoken to, and what her mood is. He gets stopped by production, like,
Yeah, they
and they're
stopped him
like,
and told him don't go near her.
and
She
you
didn't want to
see
see
him,
him.
and you see this poor man.
Yeah, but even
Oh, let me
before
just
that,
gaze out into the ocean.
no, but when he was getting ready to scuba dive, she mentioned that she never saw him with no
Oh,
clothes on or no shirt on, and that turned her off because he's a middle-aged guy.
he's soft and cuddly. He's not
Yeah,
middle aged.
he's
Actually, he's still young, but
oh
he's soft and
well,
cuddly. We'll
yeah. I
say
mean,
that.
he's not the most chiseled
Right.
person, but I mean, for men of means, that doesn't really mean anything to a thinking woman. you know,
Right. A
just more
mature
than
woman who's looking for a partner based on more than just his physical. You're right.
yeah.
That's true.
So she is. That's just showing like she tries to put on like she's a nice person. She's she don't try to hurt anybody or talk about anybody, but she just looking mad shallow. She's looking so shallow and just ridiculous.
She is, because even if that's something that you feel, you can keep that to yourself. Again, it's just like that statement that Elijah one made about how he's been with a girl and her mother. It adds to the public, it doesn't add any value. Like it actually makes you look less than, than what you are, unfortunately. So you're allowing people, you're putting yourself in a position where you're making it easy for people, unfortunately, to judge you. I don't think you need to fuel into that or feed into that. Sure, everyone has physical preferences, everyone. But again, I would say that if you're genuinely serious about finding love and companionship, that is not maybe the very, very first thing. It's not to say it's not a part of the priority list, but it's maybe not the first thing. Because, like you said, he's a thinking man, he's successful, he wants to be married. That in itself is 80% of it. He wants to be married, he wants to have a family. So now, what is the problem? That you don't like the package in which it's coming. And you could always help with that, right? If someone is open,
Yeah, she
yeah.
again, all the problems are in her head.
Nothing that an Invisalign, a shopping trip, and a few sessions at the gym or with a holistic lifestyle coach couldn't
Yeah,
fix, right? Or
a
repair.
diet,
Literally, it's
a
all
change in diet.
surface. Yeah, it's all surface stuff, literally. And as far as the other stuff, we don't know because they've not conversed.
Yeah,
We
this
don't
is
know if
so
they're
weird.
religious or not. We don't know how they
Right.
would raise their children or not. We don't know if they feel the same way about money or not. We don't know if they feel the same way about traveling or not. We don't know any of these things because they.
She just refuses to have a real conversation.
Right.
And then remember, they finally started talking on the beach,
Right.
and she was saying that the experts made a mistake, and why? Because she talked to a psychic, and the psychic put in her head that this guy that she was going to meet. I mean, most when you go to a real good psychic, they can't really tell you specifics about like the height, the cheekbone, all this stuff. Talk about a
Not the
guy, he
cheekbones.
got the muscle. They're gonna say something general, but might be one thing that you can look for. But she was very specific. That's why she was so mad. Like she should be mad at the psychic for putting all that stuff in her head. You know, it's one thing. They want some stuff about a psychic. If you see a psychic and they tell you something, you got to take it kind of like with a grain of salt. And if it happens, it happens. But you can't like just bet on that thing happening because everybody's timeline is different. She could have saw this and it could have been 20 years from now, or
Right.
could have been in another life. You never know. But anyway, not to go off on a tangent about metaphysics and all that, and psychics and all that. But I guess the guy that she was supposed to meet and marry is supposed to have an eagle tattoo, and even Chris cracked up at he just started laughing. Like, I hope he realized now this woman is crazy, and he is probably dodging a bullet. So
He's like, I'm not planning. I have no plans of getting an eagle tattoo.
yeah,
He's like,
like this
that's
guy.
not for me.
Yeah, so she blocking her own blessings
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm.
So after the so Chris and Alyssa, so let's go to Mike and um,
Yes.
Jasmine.
So let's go to the part now where they're at dinner at night and they have their falling out. That falling out transpired because um, his recollection was that whilst on the boat with all the other couples, he was cut off. But actually, when you view the video footage, he was not. He asked her for her opinion, or rather, he looked to her. He finished his part, which was, no, we have not consummated, or something like that. And then he paused, he looked at her, in other words, inviting her to put her 2 cents in. And it was then that she said, well, the thing with me is I need to have an emotional connection before I can be physical with anyone, or something along those lines. He remembered that as her chiming in uninvited, which is not how it went down, but unfortunately, that was his recollection. And once again, because he's cerebral, and let me say that I overly empathize with Michael because I too am overly cerebral and I know how the mind can play tricks on you. But thankfully, because there's video footage of it, you would think that, he could refer to that before blowing up. Instead, he doesn't. He kind of blows up on his wife, and they're going back and forth at dinner on this whole did you interrupt me and apologize for it? And, Jasmina standing her ground, rightfully so, standing her ground and saying, I'm sorry you felt that way, which is a low blow if you are at fault and you're not taking any accountability. It definitely is a way to poke at somebody. But in this case, she was actually right to not apologize because she did not cut him off. And even if she had, that in couples, right, when you're conversing, you're going to at times, due to excitement or time or whatever, just whatever the context might be, once in a while interrupt each other. If Ishay did that to me every time I cut him off, and trust me, I cut him off a lot, nothing that I'm proud of, something that I'm working on. but but if he held that over me all the time, yeah, and was like, I'm gonna need it before we can go any further, I'm gonna need an apology from you. I mean, that's just it's not sustainable. It's not
Yeah.
conducive to a healthy, flowing relationship.
You can't yeah, you can't be in a relationship expecting apologies all the time because your expectations will be shattered because there's two perceptions to everything. Sometimes, you know, just like just wanting this apology thing, that's really immature, you know. And she explained it to you, so sometimes you gotta be okay. She explained it. She don't feel like she did anything. Maybe I gotta look at the situation again. Maybe I was wrong, but um, just to like and she like to see her getting so angry and mad, like that should have been enough to be like, okay, we need to just talk about something else. Like let's switch gears. Let's just go to someone else. If you really want that woman, the way oh man, I wouldn't want to be looked at the way she was looking at him because man, it seems like it's over. It's like sabotage. Like Mike, um, Alyssa, and Elijah and Lindsay, they're sabotaging their relationships right now.
I mean, she was in a beautiful, sexy red slit dress, hair slicked back, beautiful, pouty red lips. She was giving you all the signs that, look, I'm your wife. We're on our honeymoon. Let's have a grown and sexy time out. What portion of that night was grown and sexy?
Hey, that's telling you, you see this? This is what you about to miss. Because she got real nice. She got laid out.
Beautiful for you.
Man, she really came with it with that dress and her makeup and all that stuff. And I guess he didn't get the hint.
He was
He
not
didn't.
reading the
Yeah,
signs.
he
The
didn't
writing
see
was
it.
on the wall.
Yeah,
Play your cards right. You might actually get to snuggle up to, cuddle up
yeah,
to, feel up on, love up on this. But because of that conversation, she's just
yeah.
shrivels up, dries up.
That was enough to make me forget about all the issues. Be like, oh, okay, damn, what was I thinking? Like, this ain't nothing. This is what I'm focused on. Because he seems like he likes her a lot. So why would you want to lose
And you know what? This is how Isha is. He's good for that. Like he knows when it's time to reel it back in, he reels it back in. It's something that I'm still working on, but he definitely overstands this concept of, okay, this is not about winning an argument or going too far. As a man of a particular age, part of your maturity is you overstand this concept of, do I want to be right or do I want to be married and in relation with someone?
Yeah.
You start to look at the bigger picture, right? And Mike is not looking at that. He's not looking at the bigger picture. If you're looking at each individual conversation, tit for tat, that's not a marriage.
Yeah.
That's not a marriage because there's going to be a lot of spatting, a lot of disagreement, um, and yeah, you have to learn to step out of yourself.
Yeah. The older you get, you your mind is supposed to work like, man, the older I get, the less I need to prove anything to anybody. Either you believe me, you ride with me or not.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
it's
you
true though.
know, I'm not trying to convince you. Like, once you get older, you stop trying to, like, you should. If you mature, you should be trying to persuade, convince, um, guide. You know, you can guide people, but you don't need to like make people see your point. You
Mhm.
don't need to like make everything about you being hurt or trying to like just prove your point. Like, especially to your spouse or your girl, your partner. Like, those are the people you don't need to do that to. You can do that to strangers, but you know, you don't have to do that. So let's get closing thoughts on this episode and what we think is gonna happen.
Well, let's also just quickly include that Lindsay and Mark also had a falling out towards the end of this,
Oh, how could I
in
forget?
which,
Hold
yeah, in which she
up.
was being very spiteful. But again, same thing sort of applies to Lindsay too. Is that you cannot be tit for tat in a long term relationship in a marriage. And I think you could probably speak better to that than me because you've previously had a long marriage.
Yeah,
So would you say that being spiteful and going tit for tat is
yeah.
going
You
to?
can't one up somebody or do it just because they do it. That's really a big sign of immaturity. So since he's the leader and he's been trying to correct her, he should just you know, whatever she said, he kind of didn't react. He kind of like took it, but she reacted because she didn't like what he was telling her about her. So it's good that he left the situation, like leave the room, like no more arguing about it. You know, I think he said all he wanted to say. She went below the belt, started talking about personal stuff on national TV. So, um, and but he's still trying to apologize and make it right, and she's the one, you know, thinking the ball's in her court, but really she's gonna lose if she keeps on, you know, up with this. So she definitely needs to apologize or something.
Hmm.
um I think he'll just like kind of like put it behind them and kind of say, okay, you know what, let's work on this and whatever. But where her head is up in the air on what's gonna happen. I know next week's episode is gonna be some real heat. I think, because I want to see what happens with Mike and Jasmine. Like, what's gonna happen with them two? Like, that was a couple. I thought them and the Moys, the Asian couples. Those two had the biggest. I thought the biggest potential,
Hmm.
but I forgot about Mike's um, how he grew up and his experience, because he's still the way he is because he's seen a lot of bad things, seen
Hmm.
a lot of death. But as his wife was trying to get him to think in another, she's tried to get him to frame it a little different, see it as, hey, this is telling you to enjoy life, to enjoy everything you got in front of you, because life is short. You don't know what could happen. You might not be here. So Mike needs to get rid of all his negativity and all this stuff and just live for the day.
Yeah,
He needs to
agree.
enjoy what he has and be grateful. Gratitude is a good way to be grateful for everything that you have,
Yeah.
all the people in your life, everything you did, all your experiences, you know, everything that you're grateful for. So take a step back, think everything, your family, your friends, experiences, finances, everything that's good. You know, even the bad stuff that happened, be grateful because you know what could happen. You know what bad things can happen. So kind of be grateful for everything. So um, that's my piece on this episode.
That's my piece too.
Okay,
Said all
so
I needed to say.
all right, so yeah, that was it for our recap of episode 5, Married at First Sight, season 14, episode 5. I was about to say Married with Children. That's a different show. All right, y'all, we out.
Stay decent.
Stay decent.